and welcome to this video log with me, Wayne, from swimmingcyclingrunning.com. In my opinion, the biggest barrier to entry of the sport of triathlon is not being able to swim. And for some communities, that barrier is more insurmountable than for others. In August 2021, I was asked by John Train, the British Triathlon Regional Coordinator for London, if I might consider taking on a group of youngsters who are aiming to participate in the Blenheim Triathlon in just 3 weeks. He said there were 5 people taking on the challenge, however 3 of them couldn't swim, and the other 2 couldn't swim 400 metres, the race distance. This group was sponsored by a non-profit organisation called BADU Sport, who mentor youngsters and athletes, generally from less privileged backgrounds, through sports and activities. Their aim is to raise the self-esteem of these mainly black youngsters so they take up healthy and positive options so they can ultimately fulfil their actual potential. BADU have written down a history of their experience and an explanation of the barriers to the black community in an impact report that's just shown here. And a great video called A Drop in the Ocean. And you can download both the impact report and there's a link to the video using the links below in the description. So check them out, please do, because they are incredibly inspiring. So for me, the overriding question was, what on earth possessed 5 youngsters, 3 of whom couldn't swim 5 metres without panicking and grabbing onto the lane rope, accept a challenge in which they would have to enter cold water and swim 400 metres, where they wouldn't be able to stand and they had no chance of touching the sides with only 3 weeks of training. Then I asked, okay, what should my primary role be as their coach, and how do we guarantee their success? And that set me thinking about the coach's role, which had to be exactly the same as all the other athletes I coach. And the sole aim must be to take them from where they were 3 weeks before the race to the start line believing just one thing: I can do this. You see, whether an athlete is competing at the Olympics or completing their first triathlon, the process has to be exactly the same. The coach needs to ensure that the athlete is fit enough for the task and has developed and practiced sensible plans for the event. But more importantly, they simply must stand on the starting blocks or on the starting line believing that they can do it. So let's consider for a moment an Olympic athlete, and let's make that athlete a swimmer. Their coach will build a plan so that when they get to the starting blocks, their thought process might go something like this. If I can react to the starter immediately and dive in as streamlined as a jet fighter, then take 6 fly kicks, I'll surface at my top swimming speed. Then, if I swim 72 strokes a minute, I can maintain that speed into the turn, and then all I need is to take 3 kicks off the wall to get back to my fastest swimming speed. And in the final 25 metres, when my arms are dead and I feel like I can't get enough oxygen due to oxygen debt, if I can raise my stroke rate to 75 strokes a minute, I just might get a good PB. And if I get a good PB, I just might get to the final. And if I get to the final, I just might get a medal. And if I get a medal, it just might be gold. And all of that takes a huge amount of mental and physical strength. My job as coach was to create a plan for these young athletes and instill enough confidence in them to enact that plan. The problem we have with a predominantly black community is illustrated perfectly by this little clip here.
But I want to learn to tread the water just in case, because I don't want to go down if I stop. Because my bone density is high in it, so it's just pushing me down.
The widely held belief that through extra bone density, the black population doesn't float. A thought process which I know the Royal Life Saving Society is actively working to dispel. And this clip here shows that clearly does float. So our plan became something like this. I'm going to get ready and into my wetsuit in good time. And when I get into the water, I'm definitely going to swim in the right direction. If I start to panic, and I feel like I'm going to drown, I'm going to go to what I've practiced to calm myself down, and then I'll continue swimming. If it happens again, I'll go through exactly the same process, and if I do that again and again and again, I'll eventually get through that 400-meter swim. And if I get through that 400-meter swim, I'll get into transition. And if I get into transition, I'll get out on my bike. And if I get out on my bike, barring any unforeseen accident, I will get round that bike course. And if I finish the bike course, I'll get out onto the run. And even if I'm completely out of energy and feel I can't go on, even if I have to crawl on all fours, I will get through that finish line. But above all, I'm actually going to enjoy it. Effectively, what I did was accept that they were going to panic. And we built practices into their training that calmed them down, both in the pool and in open water. So on the day, they swam, stopped when necessary, and got into a position where they could easily breathe. And then they continued. This really wasn't easy, and the mental strength it took to complete that swim was immense. But all of them did. And if that doesn't deserve a really good thumbs up for this video, I don't know what does. And then the good people at BADU decided to do it all again in 2022. But this time with 23 athletes, age ranging from 16 to 66, 10 of whom couldn't swim a stroke before we started, but with 5 weeks to train them for the London Triathlon. As I said, the impact report about the experience is compiled by BADU and details that journey and illustrates the struggle it can be for the black community to find a comfortable home in a swimming pool setting and generally in swimming. You can get a PDF of this by following the link below where you can download it. BADU have also made a video of the event and the experience, so please follow that link to see that, because it really is well worth your time. Now, if any of you think that was easy, I want you to look at this particular clip. We're following one. The first time we met one, he had to be rescued in the pool after swimming 10 meters because he was panicking and actually drowning, even though he was only a meter from the side of the pool. Here we are 4 weeks later in open water, and he has chosen to do the complete 400-meter loop at Westlake in Hackney. I'm with him, but really all I'm doing is nudging him in the right direction occasionally. Time and again he just gathers himself together and waits to calm down. His face is often covered with water and I can see he's panicking. Listen to the appreciation of that effort that he has made when he gets back to the others in the group. They know exactly what he's just been through. And that is the face of real success. Of the 23 starters at the London Triathlon, 23 finished. The slowest time was 42 minutes for 400 metres. Now, it's a real pleasure to be involved and help them through. We're aiming to do it all again this year, but with even more people. So if any of you think you couldn't be a triathlete, think again. You actually can. Yeah. Remember to download the impact report and watch the BADU video in those links below. Really, it's been a pleasure, and thanks for watching.